Welcome back to another chess game analysis video. So today I want to show you a game that I played in a club match against a friend of mine in a classical game. But more importantly, this video is actually a green screen test. Please give me a quick feedback in the comments what you think of the new setup. Now the camera is on the bottom of the screen and with a green screen. It's not perfect, I still need to set it up a little bit better. You see a little bit of green around my head. I hope it's not bothering you. I think it's kind of nice. Let's see. I'm curious for your feedback. I'm also trying to stream with the green screen. So now my setup is pretty much complete actually. So let's go into the game that I want to show you. It features a French defense. For once we have hardly covered that on the channel. E4, E6, I play with the black pieces. One of the rare instances where I try out the French. D4, D5 main line. With E5, the advanced variation, one of the most critical variations that you can choose against the French defense. C5, striking in the center. C3, stabilizing the center. Knight C6, Knight F3. These are pretty much standard French moves. Now I go for this Queen B6 maneuver, pressuring the D4 pawn and the B2 pawn. Now A4. I think it's an inaccuracy. It's like a little bit strange to play like that. I think A3 is better, or G3. Trying to maybe fianchetto the bishop, trying to create something. A4 is a little bit strange, but after I take on D4 and A5, we are back in some variation that is apparently theory. So don't know if my opponent knew about this, but knight takes A5. This sacrifices another pawn, and now Queen A4. This is definitely a mistake. If you continue with B4, then the knight has to go back. With B5, then the knight has to go all the way back. And then C takes D4. You can argue that you have some compensation with the strangely placed knight here. For your pawn that you've sacrificed, a little bit more space here with the pawns. And this apparently is a little bit better for white. I think I would have probably played this with black. I don't hate the position though. But Queen A4 is a little bit too aggressive. The knight just goes back and blocks the check. Bishop B5 and trying to pressure the center, the knight more. Maybe some ideas with knight takes and overpowering the knight come into play. The whole setup of white is a little bit questionable. You have sacrificed two pawns for a little bit of initiative, but we're going to see that this is also kind of a poisonous variation apparently. Bishop D7, stabilizing everything. Knight takes D4, which is a mistake actually. The engine wants to immediately take here. Then bishop takes, queen takes D4, you win back one of the pawns, but you allow black to queen trade, and then you play this position, which is a little bit better for black with a pawn up and the bishop pair. But the engine says that this is actually less troublesome for white than what happened in the game. After knight takes D4, you can get quite a good advantage with black. Knight takes E5, so you don't trade off here, but you win back one of the pawns. You're again up 2 pawns. Stabilizes the bishop here, which was attacked twice now by queen and bishop. Bishop F4, now trying to overpower the knight. You see white is kind of playing very actively. It's not that great. Like an engine could easily defend itself and win this position here with being up 2 pawns, but I think it was quite tricky for me to find the best moves here. I played bishop takes b5, which is alright. Queen has to take, then I queen traded, queen takes b5, knight takes b5, now there's a fork. But first of all, I have this very nice knight d3 in between check, which picks up the bishop. And now I let myself get forked with knight c7 check, king d7, and knight takes a8, bishop c5 development. And now we see we have equal material, but there is a terribly placed knight on a8, which is in most variations this knight won't come out here, especially because the bishop defends this weakness very nicely, so the rook can't capture here. A good play by me here to somehow gain an advantage, but I sacrificed an exchange, so I'm basically I'm not up material really. I just have a bishop and 2 pawns for a rook, but I'm a little bit more active. This is why it's justified to play like that. And here my opponent played b4, which is a very good move. Now he tries to dislocate this bishop here. It needs to stay on this diagonal, otherwise the rook is just going to capture here, and then at some point the knight can come out here. I play bishop takes f2, which is too greedy, which is a bad move. Interesting is just to the rook can actually attack the knight at some point, and with knight f6 you develop a piece and you renew this threat of taking. And after you take after white takes the bishop, you just take the knight and you just say that you have a better structure. You have a knight and 2 pawns for a rook, but the king is active, can come in and attack the pawns. Maybe at some point you play a6, bring the rook onto the open file, and the 2 knights are nicely placed here in the center actually. So this would have been slightly better for black. Bishop takes f2 now basically goes into a line that is drawn. Rook f1 nicely seen, the knight and the bishop are on the same file. Knight f6, now I realize that basically he can capture here, but then I can capture here. Or rather, he takes on f2 and I have an in-between check. Knight e4 check, king e3, and now I take the rook. So both of my knights are hanging, but his knight is also hanging. So this is basically the draw line, which I saw when I played knight f6 development with this very nice fork. If he takes here, I can come in here and fork here. So basically winning back the material. I somehow didn't feel very comfortable to play with a knight and 2 pawns against the rook. So I thought this was a nice line. Knight e4 check, king e3, taking on f2. Now he finds rook takes a7, which I think is interesting. If he takes any of the knights, let's say he takes here, then we simply take here, and we are up 3 pawns in this variation. Interestingly enough, the knight is not attacked anymore, and this is winning. So rook takes a7 is the correct way to play. Defends this knight and still attacks both of my knights, which is a very interesting draw here. King takes f2 would have been the other variation, which is losing as I've just shown you, and then now we have knight from 4 to d3. I need to save both of my knights. Now the knights are a little bit awkward here. They defend each other, but they can't really move because the king is just here very nicely placed, active, attacks both of the knights. I'm up 2 pawns still, but this position is now pretty much drawn. Rook takes b7, he wins back one of the pawns. King c6, now the rook and the knight are both attacked. But now he finds a very nice tactic here. If you look at the way that the game is, the pieces are positioned, the pawn controls this square, the rook these squares, and the knight these squares. So basically he has a threefold repetition here. It's not really forced, but he now plays rook b6 check, rook b6 check. I messed something up. King c6, rook b6 check, king d6, 7, rook b7 check, king d6, rook b6 check. And now there is an alternative. I could go into the center with king e5 and rook a7, a6 defends the pawn, but the knight here. But I thought, okay, maybe he brings the knight in here or back into the game and being up a pawn with the awkwardly placed knights here. I don't really want to play this. So after this, king d7, rook b6 check, king d7, rook b7 check, king c6, rook b6 check. We agreed to a draw due to threefold repetition. Very interesting and tactical variation in the French defense, which ends in a draw here. Often French variations somehow end in a draw. I think that was quite a tactical game, which I didn't really expect actually, but interesting end as well with this triple repetition with the knight in the corner. I hope you liked the game and give me a little feedback on the green screen. Send me games if you have a favorite game that you want to have analyzed or a game that you played yourself in a tournament. If you want to see live chess and Macabellum and Rocket League streams, check out my Twitch in the description. And my Instagram as well in the description. See you in the next video.